This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you today by Omnisend, the top-rated email and SMS marketing platform for WordPress. More than 100,000 merchants use Omnisend every day to grow their audience and sales. Ready to start building campaigns that really sell? Find out more at www.omnisend.com. And by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. You can find out more at go.me/WP Builds. Hello once more. It is I think 7th. I can't remember. I think we're on episode 7.
It is 7th.
Wow, you've remembered. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's episode 7 of the Speed It Up show with Sabrina Zeidan. Hi, Sabrina.
Hi, Nathan. Hi, everyone.
You're in familiar surroundings. I recognise where you are from a long time ago. Do you want to get into that? Do you want to tell us where you are or not?
I'm back at home in Kiev. I'm super happy to be here. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah, that's perfectly okay. Sabrina is joining us most weeks. We had one week where we had technical gremlins, and so we didn't do a show. But on most occasions, Sabrina's going to be here at 3 p.m. UK time, live on our live page, which is wpbuilds.com/live. I might as well show that on the screen because I've got a caption for it, there it is, wpbuilds.com/live. If you fancy sharing that and dragging some of your friends, relations, anybody in, feel free to do that.
Please do.
Yeah, exactly. And over there are several ways of making comments, and we love it when you make comments. I can see that Stephen, in fact, has already made a comment. We'll share that with you in just a moment. But if you want to make comments, that's brilliant. Over on the right-hand side, if you're on a desktop, if you're on a mobile, it'll be underneath. But there's a box with YouTube comments in. And obviously, in order to put your comments in there, you need to be logged into some kind of Google account because it's YouTube. Alternatively, if you look inside the video and you go to the top right, there's a little button. I believe it says live chat or something like that. And for that, you don't need to be logged into anything. You can remain completely anonymous. If you happen to be joining us from Facebook, you've got to go through one additional step. You've got to go to wave.video/lives/Facebook, and that will allow Facebook to give us your avatar and username and things like that. You can, of course, stay anonymous on Facebook. We'd just appreciate it if you tell us who you are. That would be really nice. Yeah. But shall we? Well, actually, firstly, I've got something a bit sad to say first. Do you mind?
No.
Okay. About 2 hours ago, he said with a tear in his eye, I released a podcast episode, and after 7 years of doing the WP Builds podcast with David Waumsley, he's gone. He's left us. It's a sad moment. We released an episode today called Bye Bye, and it's the farewell. But for me and David, he literally joined me on more than half of the episodes. It was always an interview, David, an interview, David.
Right.
So it went, and he's moving on. But fear not, because there's a bit of a surprise. We'll leave it until the new year, but something is afoot. Hopefully, we'll be able to continue our relationship, but no more. He's decided that him and WordPress are going to go in separate directions. But I just wanted to memorialize that moment and offer up my great and sincere thanks to David for all that he's done for the show. I did it in the podcast episode, but I'm doing it again because I feel overwhelmed. So there you go. Thank you, David. Thank you, David.
Thank you to David too, because I really like WP Builds newsletter, weekly podcast, and I always was looking forward to listen to you and David, both of you.
Yeah, he still is. He'll remain a great friend. It turns out by complete coincidence, after doing many episodes, he was born about 5 miles away from where I was, and he used to get the bus past my house every day when he was a child, and we didn't know. And then one day we just were chatting offline, and it was like, "Where did you grow up?" No way, that's where I grew up. What the hell? Anyway, we're not getting into that. I don't know why I hijacked the conversation, but first of all, thank you to Stephen. Hello. Pleasure to have you along. As I said, Stephen, if you fancy sharing the URL and getting some people in, feel free to do that. That'd be great. If not, don't worry. Let's get stuck into today's show. What have you got for us, Sabrina? How are you going to speed things up today?
So for today, we have a very interesting case because our previous episode. Wait a second. For everyone who is watching us for the first time, this is all about performance. We talk about performance.
Yes.
Here, WordPress performance. And we ask and invite those who are watching to submit their websites with their performance issues. If you have some, if you think that you have some, or if you don't have some, submit your website and we will look at it in the show. And our previous episode, as we didn't have a website submitted to us, we were talking about back-end performance leaks, back-end performance issues, and we were talking how to investigate that. And after that episode from the previous week, if you're interested to watch it, it's episode number 6. We had someone, I think it's not Stephen, but Stefan, as Stefan is from Austria, I guess. Sorry if I'm wrong. So I was referring to him as Stefan all the time. He submitted a website that he built, and it's a website for charities that is absolutely voluntarily built. And this website had issues similar to those that we were talking about in the previous episode. So this episode, we will be looking at the website that was having back-end issues. And it's kind of part to a practical part to the episode that was last week. So if you join us today for the first time and you would like what you are seeing, make sure to go and check last week's episode because all the theory is there. And today we will look at, in practice, at the website that is having such issues.
Perfect. Nicely summed up. Yes, and we should have said that, shouldn't we? Just to Sabrina's point there, if you would like to submit your website, go to this URL, wpbuilds.com/speed. There is a form over there. It will take you no more than a few minutes. It gets sent directly to Sabrina so she can then communicate with you. And I believe that she has been chatting with Stephen. It is Stephen, and Stephen is Irish, or at least he's living in Ireland. So
Gotcha.
There we go. So thank you, Stephen, for that. First of all, thanks for sending in your site and thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Mike is joining us and he says, good afternoon. All from a cold, wet and very windy Isle of Man. He's roughly halfway between me and Stephen, depending on where
Nice.
Stephen is. Yeah, right in the middle of the Irish Sea. So thank you for joining us, Mike. Right, shall we crack on with it? Do you want me to share your screen? Are you ready for that moment?
Sure. Just to give a little bit of background, we had these emails going during the past week, and I cut pieces of those emails and put them in the document to refer to. I will retell the story in our episode, and I will show the website. But the main purpose, the main goal of today's episode, what I want to do, I want just to share the process, how we were approaching the task of investigating what is happening on the website. Because it's important to understand when you're investigating issues, it's important to understand where to look, which tools you can use, and to identify the issue. I will show how we did this with this website.
Perfect. That's great. So the intention of this episode is not to fix everything. It's to demonstrate how you might go about exploring what the problems are and tools to use and all of that kind of stuff. Shall I share your screen? Are you ready? Or are we going to go into the recursive image of death? No, we're all good. Right. There we go. Perfect. All right. I can see a Google Doc where you've probably put the emails between you and Stephen. Ideal.
Yeah. And just to go back to what you just said, Nathan, that we're not going to fix, it's not our purpose to fix everything. We were able to fix this, but what I want to say that in my work, in performance optimization work, there are a lot of times when it's not possible to fix the bottleneck in the way I would like it to be fixed. You know what I mean? Like many things don't depend on you as a developer. And to fix something, you need to identify what fix means to you, to make it work and to make it stable, or to fix it really. We were touching on this point previous time a little bit. If I write emails to plugin developers or I let know themes developers when something is buggy in their product, yes, I do. But sometimes, often, when you find something in the theme or in plugin that is causing issues to you, your way would be to let them know, but meanwhile, while they're finding for stable solution, you will find a workaround to make it work and to make it manageable for you. So let's see what was wrong with this website. Let me show you the website first. This is, I'm opening it in private window. So our issue here, this is a fundraiser, right? And this is a soccer field, as you can see. And each square is a WooCommerce product. You can buy a part of this field and join a fundraiser. What
nice
idea is that, isn't it? Right?
That's very cool. Nice.
Yeah, this is absolutely cool. So this this all is done with WooCommerce and custom post types, and basically every single square is a product. We are not touching front-end performance here. We are not looking at core web vitals here. The problem that this is a third-party thing that is responsible for displaying this. So I'm just opening to show how it works while I'm talking.
Okay.
The problem that Steven encountered was high CPU usage on his server, and it's not highly attended website. And the problem was that he wasn't able to replicate it and wasn't able to figure out where it was coming from. That's why he submitted a website to us, and I looked at it. So let's start from the very beginning. What we know: high CPU usage. And what else I knew in the beginning is what Steven sent to me, a part of their conversation with hosting support. It's SiteGround, and a part of that conversation had an error log. Let me show you the error log that gave me some hints. This is the initial email, and the problem was, look at this. I checked in detail, and for the last 24 hours, the website, let's go astrothomastown.com, this website, used that many CPU seconds.
Okay.
This number might not tell a lot to the person far away from CPU seconds, but this is a high number. It seems the server IP and then the server IP made almost 40,000 hits to the website for that time frame. So the website, what we know from these lines, the website was requesting itself, its own pages frequently, many times. There were a lot of requests that consumed a lot of CPU, and those requests were coming from this own server.
Wow. Okay.
This is a hint. It could have been some Trojan or malware, something like that. It could have been that. But also, this might be happening when caching is not right. When caching system is trying to build cache, it requests the data from your website, and when something goes wrong, it might be requesting it again and again. And what they were saying in their email, look, there are requests here and from which IP it was made, the response it got. But look what there is here, that what attracted my attention from the very beginning. It says miss means that this page wasn't served from cache. And then we see this, skip cache set cookie. I didn't know at that time what does this mean, but I can clearly see that these requests are not cached. And they are not cached because there are headers telling the server, passing cookies to the server, saying that do not cache this page. That was a hint that something might be wrong with caching system. But it doesn't give us a lot of answers. And also, it's important to mention that recommendation from hosting provider, from SiteGround, was to switch WP cron to real cron job, Linux cron job, which is a good thing to do. But this recommendation, I just want to talk about it separately. It's often recommended by hosting providers. Switch from you come to them and tell, hey, I'm having a problem, and they tell that might be cron. Switch from WP cron to server cron. It's really rarely that WP cron is the cause of the issue, and when you switch, the issue will be fixed. It's more often the WP cron just multiply the issue that is the original one. And when you switch to server cron, you don't fix the initial issue. You just get to some same level, but you're not solving the initial issue, because it's very, very rare that it's cron itself causing the issue. It might be cron tasks, yes, that are not cleaned properly, or they are not ending. One cron task starts and it's not ending, and it's time to start the same task, and the server starts the same time again. It's not ending, and it might grow as a snowball, consuming CPU and memory. And by switching to server cron, you might cut off one level of the problem.
Right. Okay.
But not fix
not
it.
the problem.
So,
okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So to everyone who is watching us now, by the way, if you're watching us now, please say hello in the comments. Wait to us. We would like to know who is watching us. So if you're watching us now and you have this just remember, if you have this recommendation, switch from WP cron to server cron at some point in future. It's not a bad thing to do. It's a good thing to do, obviously. But just remember that most likely your problem is not solved. The problem that was the original problem, it's not solved. You have to investigate, or it will hit you in the most unexpected time, the time that you don't want to be hit. So these were our initial information. And what my suggestion, I looked at the web. What I did, let's start with what I did. There is a very cool plugin called Health. What Steven did before, he tried turning off. He followed the recommendation that I gave in our previous episode. He turned off plugins and switched back to custom theme to check what was happening and if the issue is gone. So he did this, and the issue was gone. He was thinking, he had some hints that it might be either main WP plugin or something connected to it that was causing the issue. He switched it off for a while, and then we were waiting if it would be triggered again, but it wasn't. So the issue went away when all plugins were deactivated. But at that point, Stephen wasn't able to figure out which plugin exactly and in what way is causing the issue. I just want to share this plugin, this really cool tool that I use. It's called Health Check and Troubleshooting plugin. Oh, I have it installed. Let me show you how it works. It comes from its community build. And it's what it lets you do. Plugin, no, not plugin manager, plugins. Oh, over here. It lets you turn off plugins and turn them on without interfering the experience of other users on the website. So I can go to the website and using this plugin, troubleshooting, Health Check and Troubleshooting, I can deactivate all plugins and switch back to original theme and then try to activate plugins one by one without, if you go to the same website at the same time, you won't see any difference. It would be the same website for you. I think this is a cool feature. And now you see all plugins got this
Oh, yeah, little troubleshooting icon. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, health. Let me show how it works. Troubleshoot. So I can go by activating this plugin. I'm going to troubleshooting mode. And for me, for my user, I can see this. So what I did, I'm not going to do all the steps right now. I will tell what I did just to make it quicker. So what I did, I activated Query Monitor plugin. It was the first one. I deactivated everything. And then I activated Query Monitor plugin. And then I was using this one. I was activating plugins one by one, looking at Query Monitor data. Okay, let me do it anyways. It will be easy if I show. So I activated. It's activated. Query Monitor should be. No, actually no. Wait a second. Troubleshooting mode. Available plugins. Query Monitor.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? I don't see it there.
No, it's not here. I'm not sure why. Show 17 remaining. Anyways, I used this plugin, troubleshooting and health check, to go into this troubleshooting mode. Then I activated Query Monitor. I deactivated all others, and I started activating them back, trying to figure out what's going on. And the initial memory consumption was 40 megabytes of memory when everything was turned on. I started to turn on I activated WooCommerce and toolset plugin first, and immediately memory consumption went to 100 megabytes, which was like 90% of that is WooCommerce, of course, but it's normal. It's normal. It does it for everyone, so it wasn't our problem. And I started to activating all this heavy stuff that we have, like pop-ups, sidecards, all these features and everything. And it was growing a bit by bit, but not very much. But then, before that, I noticed that there are a lot of plugins that are responsible for speed optimization. And here we have a few plugins that are doing their own caching stuff. So it's SiteGround. SiteGround uses their SiteGround Optimiser plugin that is doing caching for you, and it optimizes JavaScript and CSS and so on. But also the website itself has quite a few plugins that are responsible, that are supposed to make your website fast. And this is a good example. I want to point this out, that using few plugins for the same thing, for the same purpose, might be impacting
Overkill is a word.
overkill. It might make the performance worse than without anything, because especially with caching, when there are a lot of layers of caching, it will be interfering one with another, and each caching system wouldn't know how to update, when to update, if one is updated, should we update two, how often we should check if that layer is updated, which priority we set to cache. If this one was updated, should this one be updated? The more layers of caching you add, because for example, Divi has its own inline caching and page caching. SiteGround has its own. Then this website has Cloudflare. Then there are some performance optimization plugins that are doing something, and it's they're not playing nicely one with another. So what I asked, let me tell you how the story was developing. So what I figured out, I messaged this back to Steven, saying that I was activating plugins one by one, and everything seemed fine. But then I activated SiteGround Optimiser, and it brought the number of database query from 300 to 1060 something. Let me show you the nice picture. I made a screenshot. So 1645 queries.
Okay. That's a lot.
That's a lot. And what I also noticed here, you see this WP load all options function that impacted 730 rows. And though it was performed quickly, 730 rows, I didn't like that. So what I was thinking, from what I saw, what I can check here, I can check auto-loaded options. We were talking about this in the previous episode. I was referring everyone to the post on Ginsta, how to check the amount of auto-loaded data. So I asked Steven for access to PHPMyAdmin and checked the size of auto-loaded data. And it turned out that the size of auto-loaded data wasn't very high. It was 300 kilobytes.
Okay.
So these questions, we marked it. No, it's not the culprit. I also noticed there were issues with heartbeat. Query Monitor, again, Query Monitor is super cool tool for this, for investigation. I love it. I recommend it always. There were some issues with heartbeat. I didn't know it was connected in some way or no, but definitely like this 1,600 queries were telling us that there is something about this caching system. Triggers, incognito mode. And another thing that I noticed, I visited a product page. This is a product page in incognito mode. And let's see what we will see now. But when I visited it before, it was a miss. It was served directly from server, while it should have been served from cache. Let's see. It's my second visit now. Let's see. It's hit. So this is another thing. How to check? I'll explain. How to check if you are seeing a cached version of the page or it's served directly from server. What does it mean? If it's served from cache, it doesn't take resources from your server. It doesn't take CPU. It doesn't take RAM. It takes, but very, very little. And if it's served directly from your website, it means that all PHP stuff and database queries and everything should have happened to serve you the page. That's why we are doing our caching. That's why we are doing different layers of caching, so that we can use what reuse data that hasn't changed, that will allow us to save resources. So how to check if it was saved, if it was served from cache or from the server? You can do open developer tools, Chrome developer tools, Control-Shift-I. Let me it's Control-Shift-I, or on PC, or right-click developer tools, inspect, and then you can go to second. So you need to reload the page so that you have the log here. And then you would need to go, here are all the resources that are loaded by this page. The very first resource here, as it should be, because sometimes it's not the very first resource. The very first resource is the page itself, the HTML page. So if I click here, I can see headers. And in headers, there are different headers that are passed with this page. I can check what we have here. Is it hit? Is it miss? Because right now we can say xproxy cache is hit, but for me, when I visited it before, the first visit was miss, and I was updating and it always was miss. So it was requested directly from the server. That gave me the idea that something is happening. Something might be happening with the server, and let me see. And that was my plan. I asked Steven for the access to PHP-MyAdmin to check WP options, and also that was my guess from the very beginning that multiple caching layers are not in sync with each other. Together, they add to the compound effect of higher RAM consumption. So I asked him for access to PHP-MyAdmin, and also asked him to add these lines to debug in WP config. WP debug true, WP debug log true, so that all issues will be logged in the file, and WP debug display false, so that it's not displayed to the site visitors, right? That was a part. We could have had that information that SiteGround support sent to us before. We had that on before. And just to make it clear, if you turned on debug logging to investigate something, do not forget to turn it off, because debugging itself, especially on the websites that are highly visited and where a lot of things are happening, debugging can be a huge CPU consumption source of CPU consumption as well. Especially if you have, this is debug log, right? But some servers, they have access log also, and some of them, they have very deep access logging. So if you have a lot of things happening on your website, it might consume a lot of resources to write down what is happening there. Just saying, it's not...
very good advice. Yeah, do not leave the debugging on.
Do not. Yeah. So, let me just... and I asked Steven to enable New Relic, because, okay, from this point, we know that after we turn on SpeedGuard or SiteGround Optimiser, there is a huge jump in database queries, but we don't know what's happening exactly. And I asked Steven to set up New Relic on his website. I mentioned that in previous episode.
You did, yeah.
New Relic is a cool tool to debug such issues, but the problem is it's not very easy to set up. Some hosting providers like WP Engine, they have just a toggle, like enable New Relic for this website. You just toggle it and it automatically enables it for you. SiteGround doesn't have it, and to set up new Relic on SiteGround, as on many others, this is honestly, it's not that SiteGround is very bad. No, a lot of hosting providers don't provide it out of box. So on many hosting providers, just like in this case, to set up New Relic for your website, you would need to do curl command on your server. You would need to log into your server in SSH mode and do a command to let New Relic access the data on your website. But if you have server access, it won't be an issue for you. So this is what I asked for. And while I was writing this email, Steven sent me an email saying, I've just seen huge spike in CPU consumption just now while I was writing that. And that confirmed that indeed it was related to the caching because I just purged the cache. And
okay, yeah.
I just did it, and we saw the spike, and there was no spike during the previous 4 days before that. So purging the cache that was built by SpeedGuard, I'm calling SpeedGuard, SpeedGuard is my plugin, SiteGround Optimiser, created the issue. The plugin from SiteGround that is supposed to improve performance was the troublemaker in this case. Just in defense of this plugin and SiteGround, I want to come back to with what we started. There are multiple layers of cache on this website. And how we resolved this issue, the last email that Steven sent me was that I looked through your email, early emails highlighted caching, and also there's SiteGround Optimiser plugin. Once I turn this off, I see CPU seconds usage drop straight away. I think it has been the culprit. So in this case, SiteGround Optimiser plugin would be turned off, and this would resolve the issue. But just to understand what is happening here, it's not that the plugin that SiteGround built is bad and is bad for everyone, and you should. It's not what I'm saying, and it's not what's happening here. It's not the conclusion that we should make from it. The conclusion, it could have happened to any other caching system. The conclusion that we should make from this situation is that it is possible when you have multiple layers of caching, and most of the websites, they have multiple layers of caching because their hosting provider caches, do some caching on their side, then they might have a caching plugin, then they might have Cloudflare, and it's without installing additional plugins. It's just like basic setup. They might be not playing well with each other. And when they are trying to sync with each other, this is a load on the server. And to investigate issues like these, what you can do is what we did. Firstly, you can use that plugin to go into troubleshooting mode. You can deactivate everything. And an important thing, that troubleshooting and health plugin, it tries to deactivate caching. That's what they're saying in their description. We will attempt to deactivate caching on the server. So it might not always work, but they're trying to help you to investigate this. So what you can do, you can switch back to the default theme, turn off all plugins, start reactivating plugins, starting with the heavy things, that the things that are shaping your website. If it's WooCommerce store, it makes sense to activate WooCommerce from the very beginning. If you have advanced custom fields, activate it early. Tool set, anything that shapes, and then you go from big things to smaller things, but leave all performance optimization plugins to the end. Do this while having Query Monitor on, and you will see how the consumption of memory and the number of queries are changing. It will give you a hint.
I'll just pause you there because
Mhm,
Stephen has come back with a variety of comments. So I'll just raise those so that you can
mhm,
see them. The first one is he said he's going to check. Well, I'll just read it verbatim. He said, "I'll check what
mhm.
caching is set up. There is what SiteGround plugin is doing. There is caching on Cloudflare as well. So that's another piece of the jigsaw puzzle." He also says there are some things related to CSS and JavaScript in Divi settings as well. So that
Yes,
is not set up in the SiteGround plugin.
yes,
Other plugins installed like Asset Cleanup, there to
yes,
turn off things like reCAPTCHA on pages where it's not needed. So that's the end of Steeman's commentary. And then Mike just said, yeah, it's interesting that in this case, the plugin that is actually supposed to speed things up is making things worse. But again, I'll stress what Sabrina says. It's a confection of things happening. It's not that the SiteGround
yes,
plugin is bad. It's just in this scenario, it's conflicting with other things going on
absolutely.
at the same time. Yeah.
What I can think of, for example, there is a theme CSS optimizer, say something that optimizes CSS coming from the theme Divi optimizer that optimizes CSS and it saves it inline and as a separate file. And for some reason, it decides that it needs to be updated. It's updated, and then you have another plugin that is cleaning assets or something that is doing something knowing that something has updated. And then you have this SiteGround plugin that is trying to understand when they need to update all all pages cache.
Yeah.
Is it important to update it right now? Does do these changes trigger to update all pages cache on all sides? And if it's so, it's a lot of load on CPU. That that what can be happening. And to investigate, we didn't get to New Relic yet. To investigate situation like this further, what we can do, we can just try to figure out it's I don't know to be true the programmatic ways or template or like instructions how to find out the exact setting that would solve the problem. I would probably go to SiteGround plugin. We identified that it triggers whole cache update, right? And this causes the CPU usage. So I would probably go to SiteGround plugin and try to find if they have some settings controlling when it should be updating and seeing other settings in the theme, in my optimization plugins. I will try to bundle that together what triggers what, and maybe I will be able to find the setup where one doesn't interfere another. Maybe I would try to turn off all optimization plugins, and turn off all optimization inside the theme, and leave SiteGround activated only, and see how
Okay.
that
Yeah.
impact
Yep.
if the cache rebuild happens, but it doesn't consume as much CPU as it used to, maybe I will try then to activate something and rebuild cache again and see how that impacts. It's there is no straightforward answer to this,
No.
but really hope.
Stevens added some more commentary though, just
Mhm.
for reference. He said normally he's got the same setup on other sites which don't seem to experience the same problems. So one thing that he's tried is he said he deleted and reinstalled the SiteGround plugin just in case that it in some way got corrupted. I'm guessing that maybe didn't fix it, but then there is also something called file-based caching, which is turned on inside the SiteGround plugin, and that speaks to what Sabrina was just saying. It sounds like that may be a problem. Good point. And then he says, "Yeah, good point." Oh, I can't make that chat go up. Hold on. There we go. Where's it gone? There we go. Good points. SiteGround only. It's a minefield. Yeah. Go back to SiteGround and try that. Just isolate that all by itself and see if that's fixed it. So that's the end of the commentary that we've got so far.
I'm just looking now at the squares that we have, and I'm thinking it might also be a thing that one caching layer thinks that this should be cached, and another caching layer thinks that it shouldn't be cached. You know, the variable products, the query arguments that are added to the main URL, to the product. So this might be also another thing. There is no way other than to try things out. And again, I want to get back to the point that hosting provider made, like switch to server cron. In this case, again, it's not a bad thing to switch to server cron job instead of WP cron. But in this case, it wouldn't solve the issue. It would just mitigate our original issue. So maybe the CPU seconds wouldn't go that far up, but it's if you have to switch to server cron from WP cron, not because you want just to do things in more performant way in general, but because you're already having issues, just investigate the issue too. Don't stop on switching to cron job only. This is my point. And another one.
Okay. Stephen, I guess that's what Sabrina's got. Hopefully there's some tips and tricks in there that you can use. Sabrina, have I jumped the gun there? Did you have more that you wanted to say, or was that?
No, I think this is it. I hope that this case would help someone else, maybe not to resolve. There are no two same cases. This is for sure. In performance, there are no two same cases. But I hope that this episode would help someone who is having issues to investigate, to understand the logic behind investigating, to understand where to look and what they can use.
I think so. I think that was really useful. And obviously, if you view these episodes, you view the previous 6 and you view the remaining ones that we haven't made yet as a whole, they will give you lots and lots of interesting and new ideas. So first of all, thank you to Stephen for submitting his site. Obviously, Sabrina for having a look at it. Just so that you know, if you want to submit your own site, you can do that. If you would like to do that, we've obviously got another show next week, and Sabrina, I think, would like another site to have a look at. wpbuilds.com/speed. One more time, wpbuilds.com/speed. If you know of anybody, like, colleagues or whatever, if you want to point them in the direction of that, that could be really useful. We don't have to do it next week, but that would be great. The other thing to mention, of course, is that Sabrina, she does this for a living. That's what she does. And you can find out more about Sabrina at her own website, which is sabrinazeidan.com, SabrinASZ, EIDAN, sabrinazeidan.com. And just to round it out, there's a few little comments that have just arrived. Let's quickly put those on the screen if we can. Let me just have a look. Okay, so there's a question now, which is coming in from Stephen, and he's saying, if I'm using SiteGround caching, should I disable any Cloudflare caching?
Yeah, I would do disable Cloudflare caching, disable all cachings inside the theme, performance optimization, everything, leave SiteGround only, and then try to turn on those performance optimizations in theme, and maybe you will see what triggers. And it doesn't mean that when you see the pair that is triggered, okay, I enable this and it triggered SiteGround Optimiser to consume a lot of CPU again. It doesn't mean that you need to disable that thing in the theme or in that optimizer. Try to look at SiteGround Optimiser and figure out which feature, which setting in SiteGround can be turned off or adjusted to play nicely with that feature from that another plugin. And after everything is done and you figured it out, Cloudflare will be the next layer of caching. So after everything is figured out, it would be nice to bring Cloudflare back at that point, not earlier.
Thank you. That's great. Helpful, hopefully, to Stephen. He says, thanks very much for having a look. He'll continue his troubleshooting journey. But also, Henriette Stewart. Hi there, Henriette. She says she's still catching up with the previous episodes and very happy to hear. There will be more. Well, Henriette, if you want to, you know what to do, don't you? If you want there to be something of yours on there, I'm going to show it again. Submit your site, wpbuilds.com/speed. And that's the way to get that done. Okay, so I guess that's it for today's show. Sabrina will be back next week. We don't know what it'll be about exactly because, maybe somebody will submit something. Maybe they won't, in which case the ball will be in Sabrina's court to come up with something. But you're going to be where you are. You're staying put for a few weeks, are you? You're staying exactly where you are. Okay, so we'll be in a familiar scenario, familiar surroundings next week. Sabrina, as always, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone who watched us. Join us next week. It's lovely to have conversation like today that we can actually speak, talk not only to each other. Sorry, Nathan, it doesn't mean that I'm bored from you. I just want other people to participate.
No, that's of course I understand. Yeah, there's a couple more just come in. Cami. Hi, Cami. She says bye. Happy. There are many more to come. And final cheers from Stephen. Okay, on that bombshell, we will knock it on the head and we'll see you next week. Take it easy from the Speed It Up show. See ya. Bye.
Bye.